welcome to another edition of Issue at Hand, a program where we talk about popular conversations from the community. Today we're talking about immigration, and we're joined by 4 guests. We'll be having a program in 2 parts. I'm pleased to be joined for the first segment by Connie Martin from the Community Teamworks and Victor Wubisi-K from the African Community Center. Thanks for joining.
Very happy to.
So, immigration. It has been a big year this year talking about immigration, both at the local and national level. Do you mind both introducing yourself, more about who your affiliation is, and also, how did this topic affect you either personally or your institution?
Well, I can start with Community Teamwork. Community Teamwork is a community action agency. We've been here in Lowell for over 50 years, and we do offer a broad range of programming. Mm-hmm. From our perspective, we are certainly driven by a lot of our funding sources that make a lot of the determinations for us. As an agency, I think particularly in this last year, we have had a lot of conversations at every level about how we can better serve new immigrants and refugees, recognizing that there are some limitations, but that in a lot of ways we do have some important flexibility so that we can be able to serve individuals and families as they're coming into our community. So it's something that we've been actively engaged in. And in working with a lot of our partners, a lot of our community partners, to be more nimble and as flexible as we can be.
And I know as a director of partner engagement at the International Institute, we work really closely with Community Teamworks, and we would not be able to provide the support without that. Victor, tell me about you and where your institute and even your personal story, because you're new to the community, I understand.
Okay, so I'm Nigerian, obviously. I've been here for a year and a half now. I'm currently a student of the University of Massachusetts Law, where I'm going after my Master's in Peace and Conflict Studies. I've been at the African Community Center at Lowell for about 4 months now.
What kind of services does the African Community Center provide?
Community involvement, peace and conflict advocacy. We're trying to reach out to the community, create some awareness. We're trying to get refugees, immigrants, as well as members of the local community involved in the activities and services we offer at the center.
And I know there's a great connection because Community Teamworks actually provided the space for the Institute to begin to provide services. And among their many contributions, they've been hosting a really popular coalition here in Lowell called the Refugee Newcomers Coalition, where community partners, including Community Teamworks, African Community Center, the International Institute, we all get together and we talk about how can we help immigrants. And on that subject, what do you see as the most important things we can do to help immigrants like yourself who are new to the community? What makes a difference? So Victor, as an immigrant, what do you think that communities can do to be more helpful to newcomers?
Right. The most important thing is safety. People are always concerned about, how safe they feel in the environment, what happens to them whenever they come out, wherever they find themselves, be it blacks, be it documented or undocumented immigrants or refugees. So I think that's the most important thing people are more concerned about. Coming from Nigeria, we have a mentality about the US and Africa, I think, and all around the world, there's a mentality about the US, and that's people come here and feel safe, feel happy and connected, and it's a free world. But sometimes it feels different when you come in here and it's a whole new world other than what we're used to. So I think the most important thing is safety. We want to feel safe, we want to feel welcome, we want to be able to relate with the people, we want to communicate, we want to build a network, we want to have a family in the future. I think that's the most important thing, safety. So I think it would be wonderful if we found a way to address such issues without necessarily making people feel like they have to be put together as a group or some kind of entity that should be in an area, just make them feel comfortable.
And do you think the last year has made people feel less safe or more safe? What have you seen or heard?
I think less safe, that would be it, because I remember just after when President Trump was elected, we had people jokingly already saying it was time to go home. This wasn't the place for us. We should pack our bags, get every one of our family members and go home. And yeah, there were questions like who gets to decide what happens next. Do we stay? Do we leave? What happens to our studies, academics? Are we okay? Are we one of the countries that shouldn't be here? So it was also easy to point fingers at others as well. If you're not careful, it creates this kind of division amongst people. And if anything, we want more unity, and we want people, as I said, to feel safe in the community. And as we've seen, and as great thinkers have spoken about, immigration also helps the economy.
Mm-hmm.
It boosts economic growth. So I think it's important, that we feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
and that we are made to feel safe in the country, even if it isn't our parent country. But
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's one of our rights, and we're entitled to it to an extent.
I know at the Institute, the day after the election, again, the day after the federal executive order came out, Lowell Community Health Center and the Institute partnered to have special listening sessions for our clients. Because it's true, the anxiety rose, the unknown of what their community was going to be like, whether there'd be an outpouring of support, whether there would not be, was certainly on people's minds for sure. You brought up a conversation that, or a topic that's really big in conversation is the undocumented versus the documented. And I like your point about the fact that why are we putting people in buckets? Really, what that just basically means is someone's visa status. Do they have the legal right to be in this country? And when did they, under what visa did they get enter, right? But we also know that the push and pull of immigrants to this country, you can be a refugee who's been fleeing persecution, or you can be an immigrant who's come here fleeing different types of violence or economic security. And so Connie, does the community teamwork serve all immigrants, or how do you distinguish in your programs?
Well, for a large part, excuse me, we're a very large agency, with literally dozens and dozens of different programs, and we draw our funding from a lot of different sources, from the federal government, state government, as well as a lot of private sources. And as you might imagine, a lot of those sources really dictate the criteria and the eligibility standards for the programs that we provide. So it can be very specialized. I mean, I think the most important information that I'd want the full community to know is that by accessing our resource center, that is a general, open, welcoming place for anyone and all of our community, and for refugees, no matter what the status is, to come into our agency. We're located at 17 Kirk Street. Little ad. And you can always reach us by phone at 978-459-0551. And that is the best place to really get the immediate introduction to all of the different programs that we offer. I'm really struck by, there are, we look at our Head Start and Early Head Start programming. That's for very young children, preschool age, coming into their first kind of educational experience. There are no residency requirements. There are no documentation requirements for that. We have children who will be right in the next classroom. They're funded by a state contract. They need to be, they need to have a valid immigration status, a valid residency status. So it can be a very fine-tuned thing. I think from our perspective at Community Teamwork, what we're really focused on is ensuring that we're working with the entire family, so that there may be some programs that apply, some don't, and that can certainly happen. But we do our best to make sure we're wrapping all of our services around that family, so that every member, whether it's a very young child straight through to a senior, is able to access all the different programs that are appropriate and that can be helpful. Because we really feel that it's a matter of stabilizing a family. That's the absolute first step in helping them move on their way towards self-sufficiency. So depending on the program, there are some subtle nuances, I will admit, which I suppose is a nice way to put it. But by accessing our resource center, again, in person, I would always recommend, because the staff is really, they're extraordinary individuals who have an enormous understanding of what's available, both at Community Teamwork and at our community in general. And I would also say that it can be accessed by phone, again, 978-459-0551, for people who may not be comfortable. Coming into the location, you'll get connected one-on-one with a live person who will be able to talk you through an assessment and make those, so you can ask any kind of questions in a very safe and we know welcoming way.
And I'm assuming that you utilize interpreters if someone calls and doesn't have to, can't speak English.
Exactly. We have a language access plan that allows us to use a service either to bring in an actual physical interpreter to come in if we have the time to plan, but also using both phone service and some computer links so that we have every language on demand.
It's funny, we're at 17 Warren Street at the Institute, so just remember 17. And
Best number. There you go.
and we're really similar. Like when someone comes into the lobby and walks up and says, I need assistance, we don't say, show us your card, show us your status. We just find out what people's needs are. And we're fortunate here in Lowell because we have a lot of partners that we feel good about referring people to if we can't serve them. At the International Institute right now, we work predominantly with refugee resettlement. I mean, we're an agency that works across 3 sites, Boston, Lowell, and Manchester. In Boston, we have a range of services for refugees and immigrants. But here in Lowell, if we can't serve someone, though, we'll make sure they're connected, for sure. So flip the coin for a second. There's a lot of negativity to last year. What have you seen someone do, or an agency do, or a community partner do to create a more welcoming Lowell? Is there anything specific that you've noticed?
Members of the community, especially from those countries, come in, be a preacher, be a lawyer, a well-to-do individual who could come in, and talk to people. We've had also lawyers, come in. People from different works, especially Africans, come in to, talk to the people, make them feel more comfortable, make them feel like they are welcome, and they have no problems reaching out, to anyone to talk to. And I think that's been a major difference, a key player for me in this.
I think what's been interesting to me is in the last year, obviously much of the attention has been on Syrian refugees, and understandably. I mean, it's one of the largest refugee populations in the world today, but it's not the largest resettlement population. It's actually Congolese refugees. And so a lot of times people call our office and say, I want to help a Syrian. And we say, we actually would love your help with Syrians and Congolese and Burmese and Bhutanese. Can you tell us who's walking in the doors of the African Community Center? Who are some of the African nationalities that you serve?
At the moment, we have Congolese, we have Kenyans, we have mostly East African countries from the eastern part of Africa, mostly those, and mostly Africans really, and a couple of people from the Latino areas of the world as well. But yeah, that's about.
And I know your founder Gordon Hom is Ghanaian, so you've got a little bit of everybody, right? Connie, have you seen anybody or anything happen that's really been outstanding in terms of reaching out?
I think it certainly heightened our awareness, and that as an individual, and I say as an agency, has been a real benefit for us. And I think it's brought up a lot of very compelling conversations about our institutional values and the way that we live them every day. I think in terms of a very specific victory, we could really talk about the partnership that we had built between the International Institute, ourselves at Community Teamwork, Middlesex Community College, and the Career Center of Lowell, which really happened right as all these conversations were kind of bubbling over. But it was, I thought, a really valuable kind of coming together of different agencies where we were able to bring individuals who were working with the International Institute, get them high quality training towards home health aides through Middlesex Community College, bring them through the Career Center of Lowell so that they were hosting a job fair to help them find employment, and then after that working towards retention activities through Community Teamwork as part of our kind of secure jobs program. I think that it was a great model, and I think it really was born of this new awareness and from all different organizations of wanting to be part of solutions. I don't think we've nailed it yet, but that's always the case.
Right, we're learning.
Absolutely, we keep trying and trying new iterations and new ways of doing things. But I mean, in all honesty, here in the city of Lowell, we have done that for centuries. I mean, it really has been, when presented with challenges and problems and all these kinds of societal challenges. As a community, we really do, I think, come together to try and find engaging and ultimate solutions. So from all of the different organizations that have been part of these efforts, I think it bodes well for how we move forward.
And I know personally, I'll never forget the day of the graduation from the partnership you're describing. I was literally on the corner on the phone with the New York Times, who wrote a fantastic piece about exactly what you're saying, the history of Lowell's immigration. And I was on the phone with them because it was the day that the news broke about the reduction in refugee arrivals. So it was both a wonderful day and a frustrating day at the same moment. Before we close and for the break and welcome our next guests, what are your hopes? Like, very succinctly, what would you hope be for the next year in terms of supporting refugees and immigrants?
It's it's you see, it's a bit difficult to say. I understand one thing for sure. I mean, take an example. If you were a family, if you had a family, if someone was to offer you, probably a stranger, to take care of that person, you would have to make some sacrifices. You know, so it's clear, and I understand from one point that it's a bit difficult to welcome that much number of people. You know, and want to assist every one of them. But I think, you know, as we've spoken about the first time, safety first of all, and I think as long as people feel safe, as long as people feel like they're not constantly under threat, they will be willing to comply, you know, and communicate to make sure we can effectively address wherever they need and wherever their future needs will be, and we can also, you know, make things easier for not just us but other organizations out there trying to reach out to people and, you know, get people settled into the United States. And yeah.
And Connie, maybe in like a sentence or two, what would you focus in on immediately?
You know, for me, I think in the next year, I hope we continue to build our partnerships. I think that, you know, that's the secret, you know, the secret sauce for anything positive that happens in our community. And I think when we talk about a topic that's in some ways so specific, you know, refugees and immigrants, it's really easy to fall back and say, well, that's International Institute.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for being there. And the rest of us go home. But the reality is that for you or for CTI or for any of the, you know, African assistance and all of these different organizations, we all have to be part of the solution, or ultimately there's no solution.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something that from our agency perspective that we remain committed to and looking forward to in these next years.
Thank you both. I know you both have contributed a lot of personal investment and also institutional investment in supporting refugees, immigrants in Lowell, so thanks for this time. Welcome back to our second segment with Issues at Hand. Today we're talking about immigration with residents and professionals from Lowell community. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining.
Hi.
Would you each mind introducing yourself and how immigration relates to you personally or who you're affiliated with?
My name is Wee Sargent. I work at CMA, or in full Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, and I am the coordinator of a program called Monorom Family Support Program, which means a program that provides basic services for people with disabilities, either children or their husband or their wife, to maneuver the system here in the US nicely and happily without any hitch. That's the Monorom program, and that's one of the program of the CMA, and we'll go back to that one later on. And regarding the immigration, I think immigration or refugee had been in Cambodian community here, especially in Lowell, because Lowell had been called or has been called the second largest Cambodian population in the US, and that one carries since the early wave, the first wave, the second wave, and the third wave. The first wave we call the immigration, the refugees who came during the early 1980s to the major cities in the US, and then they came here through refugee camps, either through Cambodian Thai border or through camps in the Philippines, and then they speak very little English. That one is the major issue back then, and that's why they came together. They established CMAA, or Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, and then that's still the issue here in Lowell, because there is no official statistic, but my guess is like 50% of the population doesn't speak English. So that's why it's really hard to access information. And when you hear the news on CNN or national magazine or newspaper, and people spread the rumor, even though it's true or not true, people get scared. Well, especially when during this the new administration that caused a lot of stir among Cambodian population, especially those who come here and overstay their visa, doesn't have any proper documentation, and then that's like box them like a mice, like mouse in the house. They cannot move anywhere. So that's a major issue. However, the other people also try their best, especially CMAA, try their best to reach out to them through our media. We have the live media, live TV show on Wednesday, and we had the radio show. Those are the mouthpiece of the community, and also we had the newspaper and we had the temples, so that we can spread the real news, not the rumors, to help them maneuver and come to CMA to get information and get the service they need.
And Visal, you described the ways of Cambodian immigrants. Did you arrive on a wave, or are you
No,
US
I came
born?
later on.
And what
through
inspired
school.
you to come to Lowell?
At first I came through Seattle, through school, and when I finished school, and I tried to find which city that I liked most. I travel along the West Coast corridors. I stay a few years in Oregon, California, and then I come to Lowell. I like Lowell because Lowell, it's like the second home to me, because a lot of people over here speak Cambodian, and we have food, and we have many services, social services, especially not just among or serve the Cambodian population, but serve the other community also. I heard that 36 ethnic group over here, especially I like LTC because LTC is the platform for especially Cambodian producer to produce news for our people who doesn't speak or read English.
I think that's a really important point. I think there's a tendency to see the title Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association or the African Community Center and think that they exclusively serve one population, but often that's just the origins, right?
Yep.
I've never seen an organization turn someone away or at least refer them to a right institution. So I appreciate that comment. Rodrigue, we know each other well because you were resettled through the International Institute, and you're very recent to Lowell. Do you mind sharing a little of your story?
Yeah. I'm Rodrigue. I'm from DRC Congo, and I had to leave my country because it was not secure. You know, there was a war in my country, so I had to leave. And I became a refugee in Uganda, and I've been to Uganda for 11 years before being resettled in the United States last September. So I have 10 months here.
And what specifically motivated you to have to move to Uganda? What happened?
We couldn't stay in Congo because there was a lot of killings, and we were never safe again. We didn't feel safe because if we stayed there, maybe our turn would come to be killed. So we had to leave to save our life, and Uganda was the closest country to Congo, so that's why we decided to go and be refugees. So.
Right. Did you imagine ever living in a place called Lowell, Massachusetts?
Never, never. I never thought it. But I had a dream of coming to America, but I never thought I'd be in Lowell.
Working for the International Institute, an organization that resettles refugees, on average about 225 people each year, although this year was different. As we all know, the immigration policies at the federal level affected refugee arrivals. And so by this point, we've resettled 412 across 3 sites, opposed to our anticipated goal of 650. We're fortunate we brought those people in, but we're disappointed that we're not able to welcome many more given the new restrictions. I know that affects you personally, right? How has this federal immigration policy affected you?
It does, because I was lucky enough to be here, but I left a lot of people, like friends back in Uganda, was also trying to come here, but they can't come no more, or they find it difficult to come here because of the ban and everything. And I think it's going to affect a lot of people because we have hope of starting a new life here, and if you can make it here, it's hard to make it back in Africa. So the only hope was to come here and get an education, go to school, and yeah, America opened a lot of doors for people, and if they don't make it here, it's going to be hard for them to live there because it's not their country as well. The refugee, they can go back to Congo, whatever they're from, and they can stay in Uganda as well because it's not their country. So.
And do you mind me asking, how long did it take you from the point of application for resettlement through arriving in the U.S.? How many months or years did that take?
Probably about 2 to 3 years, but I've been a refugee for 11 years trying, and
right.
Yeah.
And the options are very limited for people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, we talk a lot about 2 to 3 years. Some people said to me the day the federal executive ban came out, well, what's 100-day suspension? Or what does it matter that we're, taking this break? For a refugee who's been waiting for so long, some of the interviews can expire, and so it can have a huge impact on somebody, correct?
Yeah. And plus, we do medical examination, and if you expire, you have to wait for a long time again to do another medication thing. So it really affects people.
And what does your life look like here? Tell me a little bit about it now.
Yeah, right now it's amazing. Like it's like my dream came true because I can go to school now, and I got a job, and I'm literally happy. to be here and see my family happy, living the life that we always dreamed of living, and it's been amazing ever since we came here.
You probably do not remember, but I actually was one of the people that drove you and your family from the airport, and I
Yeah.
remember you all just being a little bit like, whoa.
Yeah.
And to see all of you working and all of you happy just means so much to all of us in Lowell. Now, the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association obviously has a long history welcoming refugees as well as serving other immigrants.
Yeah.
What do you think is important to really focus on when we're welcoming people and making them feel a part of our neighborhoods and our community?
Yeah, I think CMA had been a hub for mostly Cambodian people. However, we serve other ethnic groups also. For example, they came from Iraq, they came from Middle East, Arabic country, and from Southeast Asia. For example, Burmese, we call Myanmar right now, and from Laos and from Vietnam. So we serve other ethnic groups also. That's why we welcome them. It's not just created not for only Cambodian people. And then you mentioned about welcoming. Right now, a lot of people come here, even though they are labeled as immigrant, but they still need to navigate the system. So they come to CMA as one-stop shopping center for them. Even though they don't know how to read or write, they can just come and then they see our face, they speak the language, we speak the language, and we know the culture. So when we bring them, we maneuver them, we are like a GPS for them, bring them to many services like to international institutes, to CTI, or to other places like Lowell House, or to hospitals, or to school setting. And then recently I just came here, I talked on the phone with one family who just came here 3 days ago from Cambodia.
Wow.
So they don't speak English at all.
Right.
So where can they turn to? They know some people here in Lowell, that's why they feel comfortable. Where can I turn to? And they said, oh, go to CMA. So
Right.
they refer them to CMA. So we bring them to many places and then navigate them to many places, even though we don't have enough resources, but we help them, thousands of them every single year.
And I love the metaphor of the GPS. I think I
Yes.
might steal and use that.
Yes.
You brought up something really critical is English. We know that there's a lot of English providers in this community, but there could certainly be more. We know there's waiting lists and just such a desire for people to learn English and making sure we have enough resources towards that. Something else I know that the Institute and the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association is partnering on is citizenship.
Yes.
Have you found that in the aftermath of Trump's election, people having a greater desire to gain citizenship, or have people been anxious?
Yes, it's true, because I am myself the teacher's U.S. citizenship, because we have the free class on Friday, every Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. We open for free for them so that they can come and then take the class and ask questions. And like you mentioned, it's like it had been increasing number of people who comes to apply, especially they got the waiver. Those people who said that, oh, I don't want it, I am enough with the green card, or some people say I am enough with the alien card because they came through the refugee camps. But right now people keep pushing their relatives, their family, let's go, and then apply. And then right now more and more people apply to get their citizenship, like you see. And then we have pro bono attorney who work with International Institute and other law office to help us out. Otherwise we cannot move all those cases through the USCIS office.
Gosh, I could talk to both of you for hours. I know that the Institute, we consider us, much like you, a continuum of services, and that begins with being at the airport, finding people housing, making sure they have case management all the way through citizenship as well, and it's been really important to have that available to people. And we're seeing more people coming in saying, I'm anxious, this has to be something we secure. In our last minute, Rodrigue, what are your hopes for the future and other refugees and immigrants in Lowell?
I hope that whoever is stuck in Africa can be able to come here. I hope that there be more arrivals, because America is the land of opportunities, and there's a lot of opportunities here, and there's limited opportunities where they are right now. So I hope that they're going to change in the future, and I hope that I'll be successful here and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great point that the contributions that refugees and immigrants make, I mean, that's Lowell's history, right? I mean, this is what we are able to celebrate and share with other cities around the U.S. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you
I know we'll see each other
for having
again.
us.
Thank you for joining another episode of Issues at Hand. We hope you'll tune in again next time.